So my name is Autumn Gecko. I'm with Vitalink. I'm the Career Exploration Program and Social Media Coordinator, and I'll be the moderator for today. And then I'll go ahead and ask David to introduce himself first. So you should give your name, your company, and then a background of how long you've worked in this specific industry.
Yeah, thank you for having me today. My name is Dave Malik. I'm with the Whiting Turner Contracting Company based in Irvine, California, and I've been in the industry about 30 years.
Perfect, thank you so much. And then Ben, if I could also have you introduce yourself with your company and then a brief background also of how long you've worked in this industry.
Yeah, thanks so much. So my name is Ben Walnum. I'm with Griffith Company. I've been in the construction industry since 2009. Griffith Company in general is heavy civil contractor in Southern California. It's been around since 1902. So a lot of history, mostly here in Southern California.
Perfect, thank you so much. And thank you so much for speaking with us here today. So we'll go ahead and jump into it. And then if anybody has any questions, please just type them in the chat and I'll be happy to ask them on your behalf. So the first question we have, I'm just going to go ahead and start with David again. What critical and basic skills and techniques would you say are the most important for students to succeed in this sector?
You know, basic skills in the construction industry, because it's a pretty challenging industry. There's a lot of moving parts. They've got to have good soft skills. I would say they need to be self-motivated. They need to be good listeners, and they also need to be good teachers eventually. Those are good qualities. When we look at someone, while we look at their education, we also look at the person as an individual, and a lot of it goes with the personality and are they a good fit for the construction industry? And it's hard to make that determination over an interview. So the students really, again, while we look at their GPA and we look at what they've done in school and outside of school, you know, how they hold themselves, their confidence, and it's tough to have that in an interview, but that's really important for us because, again, we don't get a lot of time with them to make a decision about whether it's an internship or hiring them full time. Those are really important qualities that we have to make a judgment call in a very short amount of time, whether they're going to fit within not just our company, but in the industry, because what we don't want to do is hire somebody and 3 years later determine that either they don't like the industry or they're just not the right fit. And that's a percentage of them that's going to happen. But we're trying to find the right individual for this type of an industry and the company.
Perfect, thank you so much. And then Ben, do you have any skills that you look for specifically or anything you'd like to add to that as well?
Yeah, I'd like to echo some of the things that David was saying. To me, it was kind of surprising how important the soft skills really are. You think of construction, maybe your math and work ethic and things like that. But a lot of it is communication. The difference between a good communicator and a poor communicator make a big difference. Again, you can be technically super savvy, but if you can't convey those ideas effectively, orally and written, you're not as an effective of a worker, and you kind of end up in this niche area. So a lot of things that David was just saying, it is a lot of communication and soft skills that are just as important as the technical background. And the motivation and drive and all those things that you need in most every job.
Perfect, thank you so much. And then I'll go ahead and start this question with you, Ben. What critical and basic skills, oh, sorry, I just asked that. Are there any specific licenses or certifications that students should complete before applying to a career?
And so for me, it kind of depends on which direction you're going, kind of separating at the field or the office more engineering project management level for the field side, which is a great career path as well. There's really no certifications. Getting in the trade, getting in the union, stuff like that, they do provide a lot of training, basic safety training and things like that. for the, we'll call the office side, more project engineer, project manager, estimating, things like that. Your basic math skills, written communication, stuff like that. But again, I myself as an engineering background, so if you do want to go down that route, your EIT, your engineering and training certificate is a plus. Kind of just shows that technical background. But that's pretty much it. I mean, there's not a wide array of people can get in this industry if you're motivated to do so.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And then David, is there anything you'd like to add to that, or any specific licenses or certifications that you look for?
Yeah, I would kind of just add to what Ben said. When we're hiring, and again, it depends on if you're hiring an intern or a full-time individual, they don't come out with a lot of those certificates. They get, or that training. Most of the certificates we see with individuals come from experience throughout the years. And, that may be getting LEED certified or a design build associate or professional certificate or ASHI certified in different healthcare arena. But most of that is going to come over time with experience. So again, what we're going to look for, especially in an interview process, is what are they involved in at school or outside of school? I think, Ben, you kind of mentioned, if you see somebody that isn't a good communicator and they're not involved in any clubs or any sports, they tend to want to work alone. And construction, you're going to interact with, 100 people a day. So that communication skill, when we see people that are involved in outside activities, that's kind of a good sign for us that they're going to be able to fit a little better into the mold.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. And then the next question, I'll go ahead and start with you again, David. What entry-level career opportunities should students look for while currently taking classes? So it's something they can do to kind of get a head start.
So our typical route is we typically hire interns, during summer and fall, depending on the schools. Those interns, that's how we like to start new hires, is we like to bring them, the more internships they can do, the better. It allows us to get to know them and they get to know us, and we look to see if that's a good fit over those internships. So that's one of the best things that we can do. And I would just say, if a student is really interested in the construction industry, when they're looking at part-time work, they should try and look at something that's going to benefit them in that path going forward.
Thank you. And then how early can they start the internships? Is it like for college age students, or can high school students join as well?
We haven't done high school, but you guys have opened my eyes a little bit today. We never really thought about high school students for internships. We do a lot of recruiting, as I'm sure, Ben, you guys probably do too, at schools throughout the nation. So recruiting is a big part of what we do, but I've never really thought about doing it with high school students. And we haven't looked real hard at community colleges. We have looked at a couple trade schools, and we actually get some of our staff on the field side that come out through the union. But I think it's something that we probably need to explore deeper.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And then Ben as well, do you, what opportunities should students look for while they're taking classes? Do you offer internships as well, or are there things that you recommend for them to get ahead for your company?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we've got a pretty robust recruiting and internship program that's really come a long ways in probably the last 5 or 6 years. So we do offer internships. Typically those are for college level students, but I've seen it as early as freshman year. So pretty much right into college, your first summer out. And the biggest piece of advice I could give would be go out and get those internships or get that experience. I'd say just as important, if not more important than your GPA. is what kind of experience you're leaving school with. It shows a lot about your character that you went out and did, put in the effort to actually get work and do work, and hopefully you've got some experience. And that, more than anything, I say would put you in a more advantageous position to land a job. When we're looking at similar candidates, if one has internship experience or job experience, even if it's working with a family member and but they're using their hands and have some experience that way, that will make a difference. And oftentimes some of the decisions we're looking at from someone that has only gone through the coursework and now wants to come on as an engineer or something like that for a company. So group of companies, we do offer internship opportunities. And we're out at colleges mostly, all the recruiting career fairs. And the biggest advice again would be to pursue those opportunities and take advantage of them.
Perfect, thank you so much. And then I'm going to open up this question to either or both of you. Someone in the chat had asked, are your companies signatory to any trade unions?
I'll answer for group of companies. So, yeah, so we definitely are. We're signatory to the laborers, operators, and cement masons. I'm not sure how familiar everybody is with the different unions, but it's most all work gets claimed by a union to do that work. And so different companies could be signatory, meaning that we will use union craft to perform those specific items of work. So it varies from company to company. With my company, laborers, operators, and cement masons, I guess, and Teamsters as well, are our main signatory unions.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, and I'll answer that. We're not, as a general contractor, we certainly can't be signatory with everything, and we don't self-perform as much work as we used to. We find that more and more of our clients want us to focus on just managing the work. So we're not really in the collective bargaining agreement. It doesn't mean we don't do work with all union trade contractors. That's very common for us. But as a firm ourselves, we don't have the signatory requirements.
Perfect, thank you so much. And then this next question we already answered. But are there any other entry-level positions that you guys have? I know you'd mentioned internships as well. Is there entry-level positions either at your company or places that you do recommend?
So, I mean, we have, and it sounds very similar to what Ben was saying, we kind of have two paths. One path is the field side, the superintendents, and the other path is the office side. So both of those we try to use as many interns as we can. We think that's a very important part of our company business model and a plan for growth. So we use internships in both of those. We also get involved in, the virtual design and construction. So if an individual comes out and that's what they're passionate about and we have a need to fill there, we also use interns there. So yeah, it really just depends on the path that the individual wants to take. And if they want to be a true engineer doing design, or do they want to be a general contractor? Because there's a distinct difference between, doing both of those things.
Thank you. And is there anything you'd like to add to that, Ben?
Yeah, and just to add to that, just again, on the field side, some of more the actual labor on project sites. Again, we use mostly union labor, so it's the trades and the apprenticeship programs through the different unions is another very entry-level way to get in to pretty good paying jobs. And if you sign up through the union, they provide training, and they also go out and they will actually get you jobs. They'll send you to projects. When we hire labor forces, we call the unions and we just ask you to be dispatched. And so they've got a whole queue of people that are trained and ready to work, actually get dispatched out to our company. And so if you sign up for unions, you get trained, and then they actually find the work for you, and you can actually get dispatched to the company and you perform well. Oftentimes that leads a 20, 30-year career at a company, and it all started with a phone call. So it's just another avenue that people can look for at that entry level.
Perfect, thank you so much. And then the next question, I'm sorry, it's kind of fall back onto a couple questions we've talked about earlier. Ben, I'll go ahead and start with you again. What specifically would you look for when you're considering hiring a recent graduate for a technician position? I know you guys talked about interns and like soft skills and stuff. Is there anything else that you specifically look for, like what looks good on paper or how things like that?
Yeah, and oftentimes it's very difficult to make these decisions when it's just an interview. And so the internship process is really nice. But in internships, again, over the last 6 or 7 years, our internship program has gotten very competitive. And so there's a pretty rigorous interview process even for that. So interviewing well, which can be difficult. You've got those short, talk about elevator speeches of how to sell yourself, but really coming prepared for those items. You can tell a difference of the people that kind of show up that day and the people that have done some research in the company and want to talk intelligently about getting this position. So doing kind of your homework to get your foot in the door, that's really where it starts. And then it's on you at that point as far as your work ethic and skill and how bad you want the position. That's kind of one other thing I can think of that we didn't talk about earlier.
I think so. Confidence kind of carries you pretty far. And then David, would you like to add anything to that as well?
Yeah, and again, so much of the process that you go through is hands-on learning, and that's been talked about in the previous sessions. But some of the other things that we look at is simple thing. Did they look at our website? How much do they know about us? Or are they just coming in because they want a job? Or are they coming in because they want a job with Whiting Turner? Because again, that's going to differentiate them from others. If they just come in and say, well, I know you guys build buildings. Well, they really didn't do their due diligence to look at us as a company. We'll also look at, there's a big competition that happens in Reno that all the schools compete in. And were they involved in any of those competitions? Did they do the concrete canoe competition? What have they been involved in outside of the day-to-day school activities? Those are extremely important when you're looking at a candidate, and that's going to differentiate them from another candidate.
Thank you. So they can find experience in like different competitions that high schools or colleges are hosting as well. So that's something that, okay, cool. That's something you look for as well. Thank you so much. So you really want someone to really do their research about your company and not come in just going in blind. You want someone that sounds confident, knows what they're talking about, that kind of thing.
And if they've looked at our website and they know about our company, that just tells us that's an extra step they went through that somebody else may not have gone through.
Okay, so it's already showing like their effort that they're willing to put in at least that much. Perfect. Thank you so much. And then David, we'll go ahead and start with you for this question as well. If any, what changes have you seen in the industry that you feel like students should prepare for ahead of time, unrelated to skills that are beneficial, things like that?
Probably the biggest one, and it seems like it's changing every day, is technology. When I started, it was before a fax machine even existed. So it's a long time ago. Today, everything is done through technology, and students can come out and they know the basics of Word and Excel, but there's a lot more to it that they can learn in school and they can come out very proficient at. Virtual reality, it's not uncommon if we build a hospital to do a virtual OR so that doctors and nurses and the client or a patient room can see what it's going to look like. And that adds a lot of value because it can eliminate redesign, in the future. So the building information modeling we use pretty much on every job now. Things are modeled before they're ever put in place in the field. So that also is something that students can take classes on, and they're not going to become experts on it, but at least they've been exposed to it so they understand it going forward, whether it's in an internship or as a new hire.
Thank you so much. And then Ben, is there anything that you'd like to add to that as well?
Yeah, just kind of echoing the technology aspect that is ever changing. And if you aren't up to date, you're going to get left behind. Like in the company I work for right now, we've been around since 1902. So sometimes they are resistant to change, but the change is coming, and we've gotten better about adapting to the technology. All of our people in the field are doing their time on iPads now, and most everything's going digital. Luckily, we were a little bit ahead of the curve when COVID hit, and so a lot of these things were digital, made the transition a lot easier as far as working remote, working from home, dealing with things with non-contact. That is kind of the way of the future. And then also some of the modeling software and technology like that, it's coming a long ways. A little pitch I'll give is SketchUp is actually a free software that anybody has access to. I use it quite a bit, actually. It's a really cool 3D modeling tool, relatively easy to use, and it's got a pretty big wow factor for high school students, college students. In a relatively short amount of time, you can utilize that program pretty efficiently, and it produces 3D models that are pretty cool. I've used it for quite a few presentations to owners and different clients, and I've gotten really good feedback where they're generally impressed. And it's something I teach classes at my company to engineers and stuff like that, and how to use it, utilize it for takeoffs and project planning and things like that. So just something that, if somebody came with some experience on that, that would also be good. That'd go as a positive mark on the interview. And it's just like Dave was saying, a lot of the training you will get on the site with the companies. That's just something else that's free and available. They're really good YouTube videos available, tutorials. So.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I noticed somebody had in the chat the Bluebeam review, right? And in the years ago, if you take a submittal, the submittals, we would mark them up. They would go to the design firms. They would mark them up. Now everything is very collaborative on a Bluebeam site, so that everybody is working at the same time on it, which makes things a lot more efficient. So technology is just moving so fast. And if, as Ben mentioned, if you're not keeping up with it, you will get left behind.
Yeah, we actually had an academy over the summer for middle school students, and they ended up utilizing SketchUp, and they caught on to it pretty quick. It's pretty user friendly to make their models for their houses and things like that. So it's kind of neat that you also recommend that as well. Is there anything that you, or any other resources that either of you recommend to help people kind of stay up to date with technology, like any journals or maybe magazines or websites, things like that?
It's interesting. One of the things that has amazed me over the years, just because I'm getting a little older, is in a lot of cases, the young students that are coming out of school are extremely well versed in technology. And they, a lot of times, can show us new things and better ways or more efficient ways. Everything's going to database. Excel is, I would say, still used, but I know even for us, we use a lot more database type structures, whether it's estimating, and that also allows us to use more visual tools, more dashboards. So that's another big part of it, is dashboards. It's tools that make you more efficient and help you to identify trends a lot easier and a lot sooner, that can help you to make better decisions.
Perfect. Thank you. And then is there anything you'd like to add to that as well? Excuse me.
Just equally important, and kind of the opposite, well, I won't say opposite, but of technology would be still having those interpersonal skills. And that's a little bit of a gap that we are seeing as well. Newer engineers or interns used to texting all the time. You have to make a phone call to a subcontractor, and it's a scary thing. So not losing touch with, actually dealing with actual people and having real conversations and having difficult conversations. Typing out an angry email is a lot different than having a discussion with somebody over a phone, or better face to face. So not losing touch with that personal aspect is still a big part of what we do, and it is important as well.
Great point.
I think it's become a little bit tougher because of COVID, but I'm glad there's Zoom at least, so you can at least talk to people face to face now. And then we'll move on to the next question. We'll go ahead and start with Ben for this one. If applicable, what school or technical education did you receive, and how has it benefited you in your career path?
So I went to Oregon State University up in Oregon, go Beavs. They've got a good engineering program, and in the construction industry, there is construction engineering management, construction management programs, which are great. Personally, I went through the engineering program, so I've got a little bit of an affinity for that background. I kind of just feel like if you get that technical background, it's better to have. It's harder to teach down the job site, like all the on-site training. I can teach most of the construction management skills to someone coming out of college or an early in college. It's really hard to give them those hard math and science and physics skills, and just having that base knowledge. I kind of prefer that. And so if they do have that background, having the EIT certification when you graduate college also shows just kind of that you completed the course, I would say. So that's my preferred background would be either engineering or construction management. But we, one of our vice presidents of our company actually was a math major. The president of our company, I think he got his degree in aerospace. So engineering or construction is kind of funny that you don't necessarily have to know exactly what you're getting yourself into. And some people just end up here somehow, and it really works out for them.
Yeah, and I think you're muted.
I'm sorry, my dog was snoring in the background. To mute myself. So same question, David, for you. If applicable, what school or technical education did you receive, and how has it benefited you as well?
So mine's a little bit of a different story. I actually got in the trades as a first period apprentice carpenter. And I worked my way up to be a journeyman and a foreman. And then I met Whiting Turner, and they asked me to come to work for them as an assistant superintendent, which I did, which was a great decision on my part. And I just worked my way through the ranks. So I didn't have the engineering or construction management degree, but I did have a passion, and I knew what I wanted, and I knew I could learn it. So I took a completely different path, and I don't want it to sound like I don't think education is important, because I'm a huge advocate of continuing education, but I had a different path. I was older when I got into the trade, but I loved what I did. So it became more of a hobby. And I just worked my way through the process up to a division vice president.
Perfect, thank you. So it kind of, even if you kind of don't know where you want to be now, you can still find it later and get into if this is something you're interested in, you're still able to access that through either education or experience.
Yeah, I think construction, we have senior superintendents that we hired as laborers that have over the years worked their way up and are very well respected in the industry and very well known by clients and asked for by clients. So I think construction is still one of those industries that you can get into, especially on the field side, out of the trades, and make a very, very successful career out of it.
Perfect, thank you so much. And then as we wrap up, this last question, I'm going to go ahead and ask you first, David, is just what advice you have for students. So any final word of advice that you would give to students that want to access this career?
Well, first I would tell them, make sure this is what they want to do. And they're probably going to change at some point, but just get exposed, get involved in things. There's lots of ways that you can get involved in construction before you get a career. Habitat for Humanity, we do a lot of volunteer work with them, and you go and you build houses, right? So look for opportunities, whether it's through internships or clubs, that will give you exposure to the construction industry, and really try to identify what it is you're looking for. Again, construction can include, there's the engineering side of it, there's the field side of it, there's the subcontracting side of it, and there's the general contracting side of it. And then you can get into the technology side of it. So I would just say that they need to spend some time looking at construction and doing a little research to understand what avenues are out there for them, and see if they can figure out what's the right fit for them. And that homework is going to give them more knowledge, so that when they go in for an interview, they got a pretty good idea what they're trying to achieve.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And then Ben, do you have a final piece of advice for students as well?
Yeah, absolutely. And really similar to what David was saying is get out there and get into trades, get in the organization, get in the companies, get an internship, get some experience. Internships are hugely beneficial. Even if it's not a good one, at least that's not the way I want to go. And that is just as useful information as having a great internship and changing your life. And this is a career path I know I want. Having one that maybe didn't go so well, you realize you don't want that. That's not the work for you. It's just as important to have that knowledge. And there's not a question in your mind anymore. Maybe that would have been something that's a better fit for. So any experience is a good experience. So it's really getting out there and getting something you can write on your resume.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Just
to
echo, Ben, you had mentioned this earlier. If we're interviewing two candidates and you have one that's got a couple internships and the other one hasn't had any, in most cases, the stronger one is going to be the one that had the internships.
So you really recommend students take as many chances as they can to get into this industry, whether it's competitions or volunteer work, or internships, just anything really looks good and it will help them. I mean, not anything, but anything relevant.
Because remember, we're not hiring the school they came from, we're hiring the individual. And again, you don't have a lot of time to make a decision on who's the right individual. And there are a lot of students looking for internships. So you really do have to separate yourself.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for both of you speaking today. We're really grateful to have you. I'm going to go ahead now and open up the floor to any instructors or that would like to ask you any questions, or if you guys have any final word of advice as well.
Okay.
And then instructors, you are more than welcome to turn on your cameras now at this point. If you do have any questions, you're more than welcome to just ask it.
Hello, I have a question. So for these internships, because we're trying to set up internships for our program and our high school level. So is there a way that we could get in touch with you guys? Because I didn't see your contact information to see if we could set something up and set up our own advisory panels.
Yeah, we're actually internally having a discussion about high schools. It's interesting that I just heard about this earlier this week. And then I found out one of our executive vice presidents is talking to somebody about high school students. So I'd be happy to have my information shared. I would like to learn more about how we can mesh that together. And it can be potentially a job visit. If you have students that are interested in something like that, it doesn't always have to be a full-blown internship, but there's probably a lot of things. We do go to some schools and do mentoring. So we do have outside activities that we try to do within the communities to help students along the way. So we'd be happy to have more discussion about it for sure.
Yeah, and for me, and this really is our website. If you contact Ron Roberts, he's our recruiting guru at Griffith Company, or just calling our office desk for Ron Roberts. He is the guy that's in tune with setting up internships or info sessions and things like that. I'm also involved in the program called ACE Mentorship, where we actually go out to high schools and we teach about the trades and architecture, construction, engineering, which is a really good program. And they're always looking for new schools if they can pair up the right mentors. And that's been a really rewarding program for me for the last several years. I've been at La Habra High School spearheading that program. Got a little derailed with COVID this year, but it does a good job of taking STEM students and origin students that are interested in the trades and getting them plugged in with companies and on the right path.
Yeah, and Julian, you can actually contact me. My email is david.malik, M-A-L-L-I-K.
Do you want me to put it in the chat for you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I'll put it in the chat for you.
Thank you.
And then Ben, do you mind if I put your contact information as well?
Yeah, absolutely. That's fine.
You know, the other thing I'll say is, you know, when we look at not just interns, but new hires, it's kind of a two-way street. On an internship, they're kind of interviewing us as a company, and we're interviewing them, just a longer interview. But the reality is, the first few years, we're going to invest a lot of time and money into an individual. And the last thing that we want is to go 3 or 5 years down the road and have them go, you know what, this just isn't for me. It's not what I thought it was going to be. It's not good for the individual, and it's not good for us. We are looking for people that are interested in construction and they want to make a career out of a company. So that's our ultimate goal. So the more information the students have about construction and have been exposed to it, the better decision they're going to be able to make.
Thank
Gentlemen,
you.
I've got a question. Considering everything that's happened in the last year and a half or so, how is that going to impact? I mean, we have kids that would love to have internships and love to get out there, but unfortunately, because of the COVID situation, they haven't even been able to be in a shop. At least for most of us. I know Dwayne has had kids in there. I'm not sure about Santa Ana. I see Century, right? We just found out today again that our school district isn't going to even, we're not even going to meet at all in Anaheim. So, and Anaheim's got a huge, you know, we got a huge program with several different schools. So, and all these kids are, you know, it's big disadvantages here. What do you think about that? I mean, how does that impact your thought process on it?
Well, you know, for us, when the pandemic really took hold, I would say for the most part, we made the decision that we were going to bring all our interns on, and we brought the vast majority of them on. We did have to hold back on a few, but we brought the vast majority of them on. It has absolutely been more difficult, especially if you were in the phase of chasing work and you aren't able to have that face-to-face interaction. If you're on the job site, we can still put them on a job site. And we've had to go through a lot of protocols to enable that, but we have been successful at it. But during the last session, you know, the virtual learning has been talked about several times today. It's a challenge to do that, but I think we've all adapted to it, and we're doing things differently. If we don't hire interns for us, that's going to hurt us 5, 7, 10 years down the road. So there's a bigger picture than what we're going through today. And we saw that in the last downturn in the market where people let off hiring, and that eliminates the middle managers 10 years down the road. So we still are trying to have a very aggressive internship program, but it definitely makes it harder.
Yeah, I'd say similarly, Griffith did the same thing as far as we made the conscious decision to take on internships still for a lot of those same reasons. So I guess the message is that as far as work, there is still work out there. People are adapting and finding ways to make this happen. Agreed, it is difficult, it is different, but it's still important nonetheless, because especially in the construction, business is booming. There's a lot of work going on right now.
Well, believe me, I know. I come from high-end residential contracting, high-end custom homes. So, you know, I had 7 employees before. I was a smaller company, but I had 7 employees before the last big recession. So, but nevertheless, you know, I know that all of my subcontractors I'm still in contact with are booming. That they're begging me for people. So, you know, they're not union necessarily, but you know, they are looking for people. and it's even harder right now.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think we're just starting to see it open back up. The end of the year, you know, I think we're going to see a lot more. There's a lot more opportunities that are starting to happen out there, especially on the architectural side. And that's obviously the first sign of what's to come.
Right.
Yeah, and with Cribbett Company, we are heavily involved in AGC as well, which I know focuses a lot more on union labor and stuff like that. But it's something that we've been seeing for the last 5 years or so of this gap in the field force of not as many people getting into the trades, and this gap in people to physically put this work in the ground. So we do have a concerted effort to push that, you know, students in that direction as well. Those very viable jobs and jobs that are in demand.
All right. I've noticed that with unions, some of the unions have shut down their apprentice programs, but some are still going. So that's what I've noticed. Dwayne, I know you have something to say.
No.
So Ari just sent out the 10-minute warning for all of us. So if you guys are done with questions, please feel free to use this time to network or ask anything that pops up or anything that you guys are curious about within the industry. This is just sort of like a free time for you until we're kind of ready to move back into the main room.
Is Oscar there?
In the main room?
Oscar Ortiz, is he in our room?
He's here.
Yes, I'm definitely here.
Hey, Oscar, how you doing?
I'm pretty good.
I've got a few kids coming your way.
Well, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Actually, I went to OCC as well, but I was in aviation technology at the time.
Okay, that's good.
Back before LASIK.
Yeah, actually, since we're talking now, David Malik, yeah, I know you said you haven't really recruited too much at the community colleges. Is there maybe a specific reason for that, or it just hasn't happened?
You know, historically, just as an organization, I guess our business model originally was to hire engineers.
Okay.
And we hired engineers that went into our project engineer and then project manager route. Over the last 10 years, I would say, we actually created a new title. It's called a field engineer. And that started with an individual that typically has come out with a construction management degree, but wanted to go the superintendent route.
Gotcha.
So they start as a field engineer and they work up to an assistant superintendent, and you know they can go into a vice president of superintendents. But we just hadn't looked at community colleges, and to be honest with you, I really wasn't aware that the community colleges offered so much related to the trades. So that's probably one reason. I don't think we just knew that.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, because actually here at Orange Coast, we do teach a variety of classes, you know, but we're actually putting together a brand new construction management certificate, you know, associate degree, you know. And so, and let me just share on that a moment. I've actually had students that have gone and have gotten their bachelor's degrees, students that I don't know, excuse me, that went there first, got a bachelor's degree in construction management. And next thing you know, they're sitting in my office because they went for a job interview and were being asked very basic questions on the process of construction, building codes and things like that. And the person that interviewed them said, well, gosh, you know, I know you got a construction management degree, but you don't know how to build a house. You know, you don't know how to build a building. And so then they bounced them back to me, you know, at the junior college level to give them that missing information, you know. So we're hoping that our construction management certificate, we're going to do it a little different. You know, we are going to teach them the legal aspects, legalities and all of that, but we're also going to make them take a class in framing. You know, we're also going to take a class in building code. So maybe this is me kind of pushing that to, you know, to you, that I think perhaps our students are going to be better equipped, at least in my opinion, than perhaps some of these guys that have a bachelor's but don't have any practical hands-on experience.
Yeah, and we would definitely be, as I mentioned before, we'd be definitely interested in learning more about that. Because, you know, for us, it's the number one goal is to find the A players. We want to find the best students that are out there because they're the future of the company. You know, that's really what the internship and hiring the new people. And we're a little unique that we don't typically go out and hire mid-level project managers. All of our management in our company has come pretty much straight out of school. I'm a weird one. I'm kind of the oddball because I came from the field.
Gotcha.
Vast majority of our people have come straight out of school and worked their way up. So it also drives the growth of our company.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely going to reach out to you in the future, let you know once we finish up that certificate, and maybe we'll work from there.
Yeah.
Hey, Oscar, this is John Keller from Fullerton College.
Yeah.
Just real quick, go look at my curriculum.
I have.
Yeah, we have always provided hands-on and law and management skills as part of our associate program. We teach hard and soft.
Yeah, no, I met you once before, and I probably didn't tell you this, but I actually took some classes at Fullerton a long time ago with Robert Petrie. You know, way back when.
Sure.
Yeah, I was a student there.
Yeah, very, very good. I've talked to his wife a couple of times. We use one of his. I think you even use his estimating book.
Yes, I still use his estimating book. Yes.
But just so everybody knows, David, I have ladies that strap on tools, and the gentlemen, and we all work together. And I've been live for the last 2 semesters with COVID, social distancing, masking, and we have been building. And Gruesome Newsome can go pound because we've been doing it. So we've been practicing real skills, and my students are learning the trades.
Yeah, it's very interesting how schools do things differently. You know, I actually picked up a class at Long Beach City College that I've been doing for a few semesters there, and they were actually letting us lecture on campus as long as we wear our masks and so forth. So that, you know, but Orange Coast doesn't appear to, you know, even want to consider that whatsoever.
Yeah, for my open lab classes, we lecture in the class, and then we have lab assignments.
Well, like I said, Long Beach was allowing that, but for some reason, not at Orange Coast.
How did like, I know we recruit at Cal State Long Beach, Cal State Fullerton, USC, UCLA. So a lot of the Cal State schools we recruit at. How do the community colleges, how does that interaction, or is there an interaction? How does that work?
You know what, I've reached out to them because, you know, we have advisories and we're supposed to reach out to them and invite them to come, but unfortunately they haven't really reciprocated. I don't know if Jonathan has gotten different experiences. Unfortunately, I haven't.
You know, with Zoom, it's hard to get people online. In fact, I had trouble with my computer coming on today. So it's same problem with Oscar. It's hard to get everybody together at the same time.
Right.
Looks like they're calling us back now. We have about 40 seconds before it
Thanks,
just automatically
David and
sends us
Ben.
back.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
We've all gotten better at Zoom and Teams. I can guarantee you that.
Thanks, David and Ben. That was really fantastic.
Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.